The glass doors of the Renaissance Hotel slid open at 11:47 p.m., and the man who stumbled through them looked nothing like the polished businessman who usually graced the marble lobby. His expensive suit was rumpled, his tie loose and askew. Sweat beaded on his forehead despite the cool Atlanta night. His hands shook as he gripped his leather briefcase. Behind the reception desk, Imani Hayes looked up from her computer screen, her dark eyes widening with concern. In her 3 years working the night shift, she'd seen plenty of stressed travelers, but something about this man's desperation made her straighten in her chair. The man rushed to the desk, words tumbling from his mouth in rapid Japanese. His accent was crisp, educated, but his tone carried an edge of panic that needed no translation. "Sir, I'm sorry, I don't understand," said Craig, the other night receptionist, his expression shifting from helpful to irritated. "Do you speak English?" The man tried again, this time slower, his Japanese punctuated with emphatic gestures toward his chest and then his luggage. He pulled out his phone, hands trembling so badly he nearly dropped it. He tried typing something but gave up, showing Craig a photo instead. Craig squinted at the screen. "Is that medication?" "Sir, I really can't help you if you don't speak English. Maybe try calling someone?" The man's face crumpled. He pressed his palm against his chest, and Imani noticed how pale he'd become, how his breathing seemed labored. "Craig, something's wrong," Imani said, moving toward them. "He needs help." "Well, I can't exactly help someone I can't understand," Craig snapped. "Maybe you should call 911. The man heard 911 and shook his head violently, speaking even faster now, his voice rising. Imani's heart pounded. She'd taken 4 years of Japanese in college, had even spent a semester studying in Osaka, but that was 3 years ago. Since her father died and she'd had to drop out to support her mother and brother, she hadn't spoken the language except to watch the occasional anime. Still, she had to try. "Sumi Mason," she said quietly, stepping beside Craig. "Excuse me." The man's head snapped toward her, his eyes widening with desperate hope. "Dushimashita Ka?" she asked. "What's wrong?" The words spilled from him like a dam breaking. "Kusuri ga nakashimashita. Shinzu no kusuri. Totimo juyu desu. Nimotsu no naka ni ata no ni. Kiyu no bun wo nomonakariba." He gestured frantically at his chest again. Imani's stomach dropped as she processed his words. "His heart medication," she translated for Craig. "It was in his luggage, but it's not there. He needs to take it tonight, or..." She didn't finish the sentence, but the man's pale, sweating face said enough. "Can't he just go to a pharmacy?" Craig asked. "At midnight? In a city he doesn't know?" Imani turned back to the man. "Doko ni sundemasu ka? Nihon desu ka? Where do you live?" "Japan." "Hi, Tokyo," he confirmed, nodding rapidly. "Demo, koko niwa demo shiranai. Teisukite kudasi. But I don't know anyone here. Please help me. Would you keep walking past someone in crisis, or would you be the one to stop and help?" Subscribe to hear how one moment of courage changed 2 lives forever. Imani made a decision. She pulled out her own phone and switched to Japanese. "Kusuri no nami wa nan desu ka? What's the medicine called?" He showed her his phone again, this time a photo of his prescription bottle. She noted the name, the dosage, everything. "I'm calling the 24-hour pharmacy on Peachtree," she told Craig. "They might have it, or know who does." "Imani, you can't leave the desk," Craig protested. "Then you stay here." She was already dialing. The man watched her with the intensity of someone whose life depended on what happened next, which it very well might. The pharmacist answered on the 3rd ring. Imani explained the situation, reading off the medication details. There was a pause, some typing. "We don't carry that specific formulation," the pharmacist said, "but we have the equivalent. Same active ingredient, same dosage. It'll work just fine. Is this an emergency?" "Yes," Imani said firmly. "Can you deliver?" "For an extra fee, sure. I can have someone there in 40 minutes. You're at the Renaissance downtown?" "Yes." "Thank you. Please hurry." She hung up and turned to the man, switching back to Japanese. Kusuri wa yonjapun de kimasu. Daijubu desu. The medicine will come in 40 minutes. You'll be okay. His entire body sagged with relief. He pressed his palms together, bowing deeply. Arigatou gozaimasu. Huntu ni arigatou gozaimasu. Thank you so much. Thank you so very much. Do itashimashite, Imoni replied, feeling her own relief wash through her. She gestured to the lobby seating area. Suwat, mat kudasi. Omizu wo mot kimasu. Please sit and wait. I'll bring you some water. As she walked to the water cooler, her hands were shaking. She'd just committed to paying for emergency medication delivery on her meager salary, but what else could she do? Let him suffer? Risk him having a heart attack in their lobby? She brought him the water and sat in the chair beside him, sensing he needed the comfort of someone who could understand him. Nami wa nan desu ka? What's your name? Nakamura Tokishi, he said, accepting the water gratefully. Anata wa? Imoni Hayes. Imoni-san, he repeated carefully, the Japanese honorific sounding natural in his mouth. Naze Nihongo wo hanasemasu ka? Why can you speak Japanese? She explained about college, about Osaka, about how she'd loved the language and culture but had to set aside those dreams when her father passed away. He listened intently, his breathing gradually evening out, the color slowly returning to his face. Anata no Otuzan, he said softly. Your father. Zanan desu. I'm sorry. They sat in the quiet lobby, the city lights glittering through the tall windows, and Imoni felt the strangeness of the moment. Here she was, sitting with a man she'd met 10 minutes ago, speaking a language she hadn't used in years, having just solved a crisis she hadn't been prepared for. The medication arrived in 37 minutes. Imoni paid the delivery fee with her credit card, wincing internally at the $100 charge, but keeping her expression calm. Tokishi took the medication immediately, washing it down with the water. 10 minutes later, his transformation was remarkable. The tightness around his eyes had eased. His hands no longer shook. He sat straighter, looking more like the successful businessman his suit suggested he was. Imoni-san, he said, his voice stronger now. Doyatore wo sariba 2ka wakaramasan. I don't know how to thank you enough. Genki ni nat karit yurishi desu, she said simply. I'm just glad you're feeling better. He pulled out his wallet, extracting several bills. Koe de kudasi. Please take this. Imoni looked at the money. $500, if she counted right. Her pride wanted to refuse, but her practical side, the side that knew her mother's next doctor appointment was coming up and the electricity bill was overdue, held her back. Still, this felt like too much. Tokishi-san, this is too much. The delivery was only $100. Iae, he said firmly. Anata wa watashi no inochi wo sukuta. You saved my life. Kore demo taranai kurai desu. Even this isn't enough. His eyes held hers, and Imoni saw something there beyond gratitude. Respect. Recognition of what her help had truly meant. She accepted the money with a small bow. Arigatou gozaimasu. He smiled for the first time, and it transformed his face. Oshita hanashitai koto ga arimasu. Tomorrow, I want to talk with you. Hatarate imasu ka? Oshita. Are you working tomorrow? Hi, I work the evening shift. Starting at 7 p.m. Kimasu. I'll come. Moto hanashimashu. Let's talk more. After he went up to his room, Imoni returned to the desk. Craig was staring at her like she'd grown a second head. What just happened? He asked. Imoni sank into her chair, suddenly exhausted. I just spoke Japanese for the first time in 3 years and maybe saved someone's life. She thought about the money in her pocket, about Tokishi's promise to return tomorrow, about the strange connection she'd felt sitting beside him in the quiet lobby. She had no idea that this simple act of helping someone in need, was about to change her life in ways she couldn't begin to imagine. But for now, she just smiled and returned to her computer, the Japanese words still echoing in her mind, feeling more awake than she had in years. When Imoni arrived for her shift the next evening, the lobby was buzzing with activity. A corporate event was checking in, rolling luggage and chatter filling the usually quiet space. She slipped behind the desk, greeting her coworker Monica with a tired smile. "Girl, you look exhausted," Monica observed. "Another late night?" "Something like that." Imoni hadn't slept well, her mind replaying the encounter with Tokishi. She'd woken up twice to make sure the money was still in her wallet, that it hadn't been a dream. At 7:32 p.m., Tokishi appeared. He looked nothing like the desperate man from last night. His charcoal suit was perfectly pressed, his hair neatly styled. He carried himself with quiet confidence as he approached the desk. "Imoni-san," he greeted her with a slight bow. "Tokishi-san, konbanwa. Good evening. How are you feeling?" "Okagesamade, totemo genki desu." "Thanks to you, I'm very well." "Sukoshi hanasemasu ka? Can we talk for a bit?" She glanced at Monica, who waved her away. "Take your break, I've got this." Imoni led Tokishi to the hotel cafe, quieter now between dinner and late-night coffee seekers. They settled into a corner table, and she noticed how he seemed to study her, as if trying to understand something. "Imoni-san, I want to properly thank you for last night," he began in Japanese, then switched to careful English. "Also, I should practice English with you. My business here requires it." His English was accented but clear, much better than his panicked state had suggested. "You speak English well," Imoni said. "Reading and writing, yes. Speaking under stress?" He smiled ruefully. "Not so much. Last night, I was too afraid to try. The medication, my heart, everything felt urgent. Japanese was all my brain could find. I understand. When my father was in the hospital at the end, even though everyone spoke English, I couldn't always process what the doctors were saying. Fear does that." Something shifted in his expression. "Your father. You mentioned he passed away. May I ask what happened?" "Cancer. 3 years ago. He fought for 18 months, but..." She shrugged, the gesture hiding old pain. "It took everything we had. The medical bills, the treatments, taking time off work. My mom had to sell her catering business. I dropped out of college to work full-time." "This is when you left Japan studies?" "Yes. I was 6 months from graduating, but my mom needed help with my younger brother, Richard. He's 16 now. Someone had to keep things stable for him." Tokishi was quiet for a moment. "This is why you accepted my money last night without much argument." Imoni felt heat rise in her cheeks. "I'm not usually. I don't want you to think. I think you are practical," he said gently. "I think you are someone who does what needs to be done for family. I understand this very well. I also had to take over my father's company when he died. I was 28. I wanted to be an architect. Instead, I became CEO of Nakamura Technologies. Do you regret it?" "Some days. But family duty is important. We do what we must." He leaned forward slightly. "Imoni-san, I want to help you more. Please let me." "You already helped. That money will cover our electric bill and my mother's next doctor appointment." "Your mother is ill." Imoni hesitated, then decided honesty was easier than evasion. "She has diabetes. It's mostly controlled, but the medication is expensive. Sometimes we have to choose between her insulin and other bills. Last month, we were 3 days late on rent." She watched for pity in his eyes but found only understanding. "How much does she need?" "For medication, for doctors?" "Tokishi-san, I can't." "The amount. Please." "Her treatment costs about $600 a month. But really, I can't accept more money from you." "Why not?" He seemed genuinely puzzled. "I have resources I don't need. You have needs that are important. Last night, you didn't hesitate to help me, even though the delivery fee was expensive for you. Why should I hesitate to help you?" The simple logic of it made her pause. "Because we just met. Because you don't owe me anything beyond what you already gave me." "I disagree. You saved my life. In Japan, this creates a connection, a responsibility. But even without that culture, human to human, why should I not help if I can? Would you accept help when you desperately needed it, or let pride hold you back?" Let us know in the comments what you would do. Imani felt tears prick her eyes. Pride had been her constant companion since her father died, the armor that protected her from feeling pitied or lesser. But Tokishi wasn't offering pity. He was offering practical help, the way she'd offered him practical help last night. If you really want to help, she said slowly, 6 months of her medication costs would give us breathing room. That's $3,600. It would let us catch up on other bills. Done. He pulled out his phone. What is your payment app? Wait, just like that. Should I think longer about it? Would that make it easier for you to accept? His slight smile took any sting from the words. Imani-san, I am worth approximately $4 billion. 3,600 is what I spend on dinner on a normal business evening. Please, let me do this. She gave him her payment information with shaking hands. Seconds later, her phone buzzed. She looked at the notification and felt dizzy. He'd sent $5,000. That's too much, you said. 3,600 for medication. The rest for other bills you mentioned. Rent, electric, whatever you need. I don't know what to say. Say you'll have dinner with me tomorrow night. Not at this cafe. A real dinner, at a real restaurant. I want to talk more with you, learn more about your life, your interrupted dreams. Let me be selfish and enjoy conversation with someone who understands my language. Imani laughed through the tears she was trying to hold back. That's the most expensive dinner invitation I've ever received. Say yes. Please. Yes. Of course, yes. She paused. But I'm paying for my own meal. He laughed, a warm sound that made other cafe patrons glance over. Americans and their independence. Fine. You pay for your meal. I will pay for mine. And maybe dessert we share, so we argue about who pays. They talked for another 20 minutes before Imani had to return to work. He told her about his business trip, how he was finalizing a partnership with a tech company here in Atlanta. She told him about Richard's dreams of becoming a video game designer, about her mother's famous peach cobbler recipe. When she returned to the desk, Monica grabbed her arm. Girl, who was that? And why do you look like you're about to cry? That's Tokishi Nakamura. I helped him last night, and he just changed my life. That night, after her shift ended, Imani sat in her car in the parking garage and called her mother. Baby. It's past midnight, what's wrong? Nothing's wrong, Mama. Everything's. I need to tell you something. She explained about Tokishi, about the medication money, about all of it. Her mother was silent for a long moment. This man just gave you $5,000? Imani, are you sure this is safe? You don't know him. I know, Mama. I know it sounds crazy. But there's something about him, he's genuine. And he's right. I helped him without thinking twice. Why shouldn't I let him help us? Because you've always been the one helping everyone else, baby. You're not used to being on the receiving end. Maybe it's time I learned. Her mother's voice softened. Maybe it is. Lord knows we need it. Thank you, baby. For everything you do. For this. After hanging up, Imani sat in the dark car, looking at the Atlanta skyline through the garage's open side. Somewhere in the hotel above her, Tokishi was probably sleeping, probably not giving the money a second thought. But for her, everything had shifted. The constant weight of financial stress had lifted just enough that she could breathe. And tomorrow night, she was having dinner with a man who saw her not as a charity case but as someone worthy of help simply because she'd offered it first. She started her car and drove home, already wondering what she would wear tomorrow. The next evening, Imani stood in front of her closet feeling ridiculous. She was 24 years old, had worked 3 jobs at once before, had handled everything from angry hotel guests to her father's final days, but choosing an outfit for dinner had her paralyzed with indecision. Just pick something, Richard called from his room down the hall. You look good in everything. How would you know? You're always gaming in your room. I notice stuff. The blue dress. The one you wore to Aunt Kim's wedding. Imani pulled out the navy blue dress, simple and elegant with 3/4 sleeves. This feels too fancy. He's a billionaire taking you to dinner. It's not too fancy. She changed quickly, added simple gold earrings their father had given her, and studied herself in the mirror. The dress fit well, skimming her curves without being too tight. Her natural hair was pulled back in a low bun, a few curls framing her face. Her phone buzzed. Tokishi's message read simply, "I'm downstairs." In the living room, her mother looked up from her medical textbook. Patricia Hayes was studying to become a certified medical assistant, slowly rebuilding the career cancer had interrupted. "You look beautiful, baby. I'm nervous." "I don't know why I'm nervous." "Because this feels important." "That's okay. Go, have fun. Stay safe. Text me when you get there and when you leave." "Mama, I'm not 16. You're my daughter." "That doesn't change." Patricia squeezed her hand. "And Imani, let yourself enjoy this. You've been so busy taking care of everyone else. Let someone take care of you for one evening." The black car waiting outside was understated but clearly expensive. Tokishi stepped out as she approached, and she noticed his own nervousness in the way he straightened his jacket twice. "Imani-san, you look lovely." "Thank you. You didn't have to send a car. I wanted you to be comfortable. Also, I don't know Atlanta well. Driver does." The restaurant was a Japanese fusion place in Buckhead, elegant without being pretentious. The owner greeted Tokishi warmly in Japanese, and Imani realized they must know each other. "I called ahead," Tokishi explained as they were seated at a private corner table. "Asked for someone who could prepare traditional dishes. Owner's mother is from Kyoto. She's cooking for us tonight." The meal was extraordinary. Each course arrived like a small work of art: delicate sashimi, perfectly grilled fish, miso soup that tasted like the one she'd had in Osaka. They talked between courses, the conversation flowing easily between English and Japanese. "Tell me about Osaka," Tokishi said. "What did you study there?" "Language immersion, cultural studies. I lived with a host family in Mino, took the train to Osaka University every day. I loved it. The people, the food, the way everyone was so helpful even when my Japanese was terrible." "Your Japanese isn't terrible. It's very good." "Not really. I make grammar mistakes all the time. So do I in English. Language is about communicating, not perfection. You communicate clearly. That's what matters." She told him about her semester abroad, about getting lost in Dotonbori and ending up at a tiny okonomiyaki restaurant where the owner adopted her for the evening. About visiting temples in Noro and having deer steal her map. About the sayonara party her host family threw before she returned to America, how her host mother had cried and made her promise to come back. "But you haven't gone back." "No." She looked down at her plate. "I meant to. After graduation, I was going to apply to teach English in Japan through the JET program. That was the dream. Teach for a few years, really become fluent, maybe stay long term. This is what you gave up when your father got sick." "Someone had to." Richard was only 13. Mama was falling apart. My older brother, Andre, was deployed overseas with the Marines. I was the only one who could step up. "Where is Andre now?" "Still active duty. He sends money when he can, but it's not much. We don't blame him. He's serving his country. We're proud of him." Tokishi was quiet for a moment. "My sister says I work too much, that I sacrifice everything for duty. But you sacrificed your dream, your education, years of your life. And you don't seem bitter." "I was, for a while. Angry at the universe, at cancer, at the cost of healthcare in America. But bitterness doesn't pay bills. And Richard needed someone stable. Mama needed support. You do what needs doing. This is very Japanese way of thinking. Gaman. Enduring what must be endured. Every culture has it, I think. We just call it different things." The owner's mother appeared with dessert, a beautiful matcha tiramisu. She spoke to Tokishi in rapid Japanese, gesturing to Imani with warm approval. Tokishi's ears turned slightly red, and Imani caught enough to understand the older woman was suggesting they made a lovely couple. "Obasan," Tokishi said, embarrassed. "Please." The woman laughed and patted his shoulder before returning to the kitchen. "What did she say?" Imani asked, though she knew. She's nosy and thinks she knows everything, he muttered, then smiled. She says I should bring you back. That she hasn't seen me look this relaxed in years. They shared the dessert, arguing good-naturedly about who would pay the bill. Finally, they compromised. He paid for the meal, she left the tip. In the car afterward, Tokishi seemed pensive. Imoni-san, I want to ask you something. My regular translator, she had a family emergency in Tokyo. She won't be back for the rest of my trip, maybe 10 days. I have important meetings, contracts to review, presentations to understand. Would you consider helping me? I'll pay you properly, of course. Much more than your hotel salary. Imoni's heart jumped. I'm not a professional translator. I might miss important details. Your Japanese is better than you think. And I need someone I trust. Last night, you proved I can trust you. So, will you help me? This was the second time in 2 days he'd offered her something that could change her life. And like her mother said, maybe it was time to let herself be helped. Yes, she said simply. I'd be honored to help you. His smile was bright enough to light the dark car. Thank you. We start tomorrow. Wear business clothes. And Imoni-san, don't undersell yourself. You're going to be amazing. When she got home, Richard was still awake, gaming in the living room. He paused his game when she walked in. So, how was it? He offered me a job. Translating for him for the next week and a half. A job. Like a real job. A real job. Business meetings, contracts, everything. Richard whooped and tackled her in a hug. My sister, the international businesswoman. Dad would be so proud. Patricia emerged from her bedroom, concerned by the noise, but smiled when she heard the news. My baby, moving up in the world. That night, lying in bed, Imoni thought about the evening. The easy conversation, the shared laughter, the way Tokishi looked at her like she was more than a night shift receptionist. She thought about tomorrow, about stepping into a world she'd only dreamed about. And for the first time in 3 years, she let herself imagine that maybe, just maybe, her dreams weren't as dead as she'd thought. Maybe they were just sleeping, waiting for the right moment to wake up. Tomorrow, that moment would begin. The lobby of the Paramount Tech building was all glass and chrome, the kind of place where Imoni had only dropped off packages before, never imagining she'd walk through as someone with business there. She adjusted her black pencil skirt and cream blouse, clothes she'd owned for years but rarely wore. Tokishi met her in the lobby, and his eyes lit up when he saw her. Professional and perfect, he said. Ready as I'll ever be. The conference room on the 32nd floor had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown Atlanta. 5 executives were already seated, papers and laptops spread before them. They looked up as Tokishi entered, their expressions shifting from business-friendly to confused when they saw Imoni. Tokishi, I thought your translator wasn't available. The speaker was a woman in her 50s, blonde hair perfectly styled. This is Imoni Hayes. She'll be handling translation for the remainder of my visit. He switched to Japanese. Imoni-san, Korewa Jennifer Coleman, CEO Daisu. This is Jennifer Coleman, the CEO. Imoni bowed slightly, then extended her hand. Hajime. It's a pleasure to meet you. Jennifer's eyebrows rose. You speak Japanese? Yes, I studied at Osaka University. The meeting began, and Imoni felt her nerves settle as she fell into the rhythm of translation. Tokishi spoke in Japanese, and she rendered his words into English. The executives responded, and she translated back. Technical terms she didn't know, she asked Tokishi to clarify, and he patiently explained until she understood. 2 hours in, they took a break. Jennifer approached Imoni at the coffee station. You're very good at this. How long have you been translating professionally? This is actually my first professional translation job. You're kidding. I never would have guessed. You're clear, precise, and you don't hesitate to ask for clarification when needed. That's rare. Throughout the day, Imoni noticed things about Tokishi she hadn't seen before. The way he listened intently to everyone, even the junior analyst who spoke nervously about data projections. How he asked thoughtful questions that showed he'd actually absorbed what people said. His patience when explaining complex technical concepts, never condescending. During lunch, which was brought in from a local restaurant, one of the executives made a dismissive comment about the cleaning staff who'd come through earlier. Takeshi's expression didn't change, but in Japanese, he told Imoni, people who disrespect service workers reveal their own character, not the worker's worth. When the meeting resumed, she watched him treat the person who'd made the comment with the same courtesy as everyone else. No grudge, no attitude, just professionalism. By the time the meeting concluded at 6 p.m., they'd made significant progress on the partnership deal. As they left the building, Takeshi looked exhausted but satisfied. "You were incredible today," he said. "Jennifer told me during the break that you're the best translator they've worked with. And that's including professionals who've done this for 20 years. She was being kind. She was being honest. Imoni-san, I'm serious. You have a gift for this." He paused on the sidewalk. "I noticed your shoes. They're worn at the heel. For tomorrow's meeting with the manufacturing partners, we need to get you proper business attire." Imoni looked down at her shoes, the ones she'd had since college. The heels were indeed worn, the leather scuffed despite her best efforts to maintain them. "I can't afford new shoes right now. These work fine. Please let me buy them. You're representing my company. It's a business expense. Takeshi-san. Not charity. Business investment. You need professional clothes for professional meetings. This is normal. My translator in Tokyo, I provide her clothing allowance." Same thing. He had a point, and the practical part of her brain knew it. "Just shoes then. And maybe 1 or 2 outfits. Please." They ended up at Lenox Square Mall. Takeshi proved to have unexpectedly good taste, guiding her to stores she'd walked past hundreds of times but never entered. At Nordstrom, he insisted she try on 3 professional dresses, 2 blazers, and yes, proper shoes. The sales associate clearly thought they were a couple, and neither corrected her. When Imoni emerged from the dressing room in a tailored charcoal dress, Takeshi's expression made her blush. "That one," he said. "Definitely that one." At the shoe department, she tried on Italian leather pumps that felt like walking on clouds compared to her old shoes. When she saw the price tag, she nearly fell over. $300 for shoes. Investment in your feet. You'll be standing in meetings. Good shoes matter. Trust me. She left with 3 dresses, 2 blazers, 3 pairs of shoes, and a leather portfolio that Takeshi insisted she needed. When she tried to refuse the portfolio, he simply handed his credit card to the sales associate and walked away to take a phone call. In the car afterward, she said, "You're very sneaky. I prefer strategic. These are too much. Way too much. They're necessary. And Imoni-san, you looked happy in that store. When was the last time you bought something new for yourself?" She thought about it. Christmas 2 years ago. A sweater on clearance. Then this is overdue. Please accept gracefully. They drove through Atlanta's evening traffic, and Imoni found herself telling him about her day-to-day life. The hotel shifts, the exhaustion, the constant mental math of bills versus income. How she'd learned to meal plan so carefully that they never wasted food. How Richard had learned not to ask for new shoes until his old ones were literally falling apart. Takeshi listened without interrupting, and when she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "You're one of the strongest people I've ever met. You know that. I'm just doing what needs doing." No. Many people in your situation would have given up, would have become bitter, would have taken easier paths that hurt others. You chose to sacrifice and keep sacrificing, and you did it with grace. That's not just anything. When they arrived at her apartment complex, he walked her to her door despite her protests. "Tomorrow, 9 a.m., he said. "Wear the charcoal dress with the navy blazer. You'll look perfect." "Bossy," she teased. "Helpful," he corrected with a smile. Inside, Patricia was reading on the couch, her reading glasses perched on her nose. She looked up as Imoni entered with shopping bags, her eyebrows rising. "Did you rob a bank?" Imoni explained about the business necessity, about how it wasn't charity but investment. Her mother examined the clothes carefully. "These are quality. Real quality." She looked at her daughter. "Baby, This man is clearly very generous. He's practical. He needs me to look professional for meetings. Amham. And the way he looks at you. That practical too. Mama, don't. I'm just saying. A man doesn't buy a woman $300 shoes if he's just being practical. But I'm glad you're accepting his help. Lord knows you deserve nice things. That night, Imani tried on the charcoal dress one more time, looking at herself in the mirror. She looked professional, capable, like someone who belonged in high-level business meetings. It was strange and wonderful and slightly terrifying. She thought about Tokish's words, about strength and grace. She'd never thought of herself that way. She was just Imani, the girl who did what needed doing, who kept her head down and pushed through. But maybe he was right. Maybe there was strength in that. Tomorrow would bring more meetings, more translation work, more time in this new world Tokishi had opened for her. She was scared she'd mess up, say the wrong thing, embarrass him. But she was also excited. For the first time in 3 years, she was using her Japanese, engaging her brain in ways the hotel front desk never required. She was learning, growing, becoming more than just someone's daughter or sister or the night shift receptionist. She was becoming herself again. And it felt like coming home. The next few days fell into a rhythm. Mornings were spent in meetings, Imani translating technical discussions and contract terms. Afternoons brought site visits to potential partnership locations. Evenings, Tokishi insisted on dinner together, partly to debrief about the day's work, partly because, as he said, eating alone in hotel restaurants was depressing. On the 5th day, as they left a particularly long meeting with manufacturing partners, Tokishi's phone rang. His expression shifted immediately when he saw the caller ID. Yuki, he said warmly, then launched into rapid Japanese. Imani caught the gist, his younger sister calling from Tokyo, worried about him, insisting he wasn't taking care of himself. No, I'm eating properly, he said, then laughed. Yes, I'm sleeping. No more than 7 hours of work a day. He paused, listening, then glanced at Imani with an expression she couldn't quite read. Actually, yes. There is someone. A translator, but also, just someone. Her name is Imani. Imani's heart did something complicated in her chest. When he hung up, he looked almost sheepish. My sister wants to meet you. She's arriving tomorrow. Here. In Atlanta. She worries. When I told her about my medication emergency and how you helped, she decided she needed to check on me. Also, I think she's curious about you. I may have talked about you too much. The next day, Yuki Nakamura swept into the hotel lobby like a small, elegant storm. She was petite, dressed in designer clothes that somehow looked casual and chic at once. Her hair was cut in a sharp bob, and her eyes sparkled with intelligence and mischief. She spotted Imani immediately and made a beeline for her, ignoring her brother entirely. You must be Imani, she said in perfect English. I'm Yuki. Thank you for saving my ridiculous brother's life. You're welcome. He told me everything. How you spoke Japanese, how you didn't hesitate to help, how you've been translating for him. He hasn't stopped talking about you. She glanced at Tokishi with a knowing smile. It's very unlike him. Yuki, Tokishi said in Japanese, his tone warning. Behave. I'm always behaved, she replied in the same language, completely lying. Over the next hour, Yuki charmed everyone she met. She complimented the hotel staff, asked Richard about his gaming interests when Imani mentioned him, and somehow convinced Patricia to invite them all to dinner at their apartment. Yuki, you can't invite yourself to someone's home, Tokishi protested. I didn't. I asked politely, and Patricia-san graciously accepted. There's a difference. That evening, Patricia cooked her famous pot roast, nervous about hosting despite Imani's reassurances. Richard cleaned the living room 3 times. Imani worried about everything from the mismatched furniture to the water stain on the ceiling. When Tokishi and Yuki arrived, Yuki immediately kicked off her expensive shoes and padded into the kitchen. What can I do to help? I'm useless at cooking, but I can set the table. Within minutes, she had Patricia laughing as she told stories about Tokishi's childhood, about how he once tried to build a robot from their father's old computer parts and accidentally electrocuted himself. He was very serious, even as a child, Yuki said. Always studying, always responsible. I was the troublemaker. Still am. I can relate, Richard said. Imani's the responsible one. I'm the one Mama has to yell at to do homework. Balance is important, Yuki said wisely. Every family needs one of each. During dinner, the conversation flowed easily. Tokishi asked Patricia about her medical assistant studies, genuinely interested in her career change. Patricia asked about Japan, about their family, about what it was like growing up in Tokyo. Our father was very traditional, Yuki explained. He expected Tokishi to take over the company, expected me to marry well. I rebelled by becoming a fashion designer. I have my own label now. That's wonderful, Patricia said. Following your own path. Yes, though father wouldn't have approved. He died before I succeeded enough to prove him wrong. She glanced at Tokishi. But my brother supported me anyway. He gave me the money to start my business, told father it was a loan when it was really a gift. You paid me back, Tokishi said quietly. Only because you refused to accept no. But the point is, he believed in me when no one else did. After dinner, Richard showed Yuki his gaming setup, and she surprised everyone by being an avid gamer herself. Soon they were engaged in a fierce competition while Tokishi helped Patricia clear the table, insisting when she tried to refuse. Your home is lovely, he told her. Warm. Happy. My penthouse in Tokyo is beautiful but empty. This is better. We don't have much, Patricia said. You have everything that matters. Family who loves each other. I see how Richard looks up to Imani. How Imani takes care of you. This is wealth. Patricia studied him with a mother's assessing eyes. You care about my daughter. It wasn't a question. Tokishi met her gaze steadily. Yes. Very much. She's remarkable. She is. And she's been hurt before, by life, by loss. I don't want to see her hurt again. Neither do I. I promise you, I only want to help her, to give her opportunities she deserves. Just opportunities. Tokishi's ears turned red, that Telemoni had learned to recognize. I don't, we're very different. I live in Tokyo. She has family here. I don't want to assume anything. Ham, Patricia said, sounding remarkably like she had when Imani tried to downplay Tokishi's interest. Son, let me tell you something. Imani's been putting everyone else first for 3 years. If you do care about her, really care, then help her put herself first for once. Help her dream again. I want to, Tokishi said quietly. More than anything. In the living room, Yuki had finished destroying Richard at his own game and was now talking to Imani. My brother is different around you, she said. Lighter. He smiles more. It's nice to see. We're just friends, Imani said, though the words felt incomplete. Are you? Because he talks about you the way I used to talk about my husband before we married. You're married? Divorced now, but that's another story. The point is, I recognize the signs. He cares about you. The question is, do you care about him? Imani thought about the past week. The ease of their conversations, the way Tokishi listened to her like every word mattered. How safe she felt around him. How much she looked forward to seeing him each day. Yes, she admitted. I do. But it's complicated. He lives in Tokyo. I live here. I have responsibilities. Life is always complicated. But it's short. My father taught me that when he died at 58. If you care about someone, if they make you happy, you find a way. Otherwise, you look back at 80 and wonder why you were so cautious. When Tokishi and Yuki finally left, past 10 p.m., Patricia hugged them both. You're welcome here anytime, she told Yuki. Both of you. After they left, Richard grinned at Imani. Yuki's cool. And Tokishi helped me understand that coding problem I've been stuck on for weeks. He knows everything about programming. He does. Yeah. He said before he became CEO, he wanted to be an architect, but his real hobby was coding. He wrote some of the software his company uses. Richard paused. He really likes you, you know. It's obvious. Is it obvious to everyone except me? Pretty much, yeah. That night, Imoni lay in bed thinking about Yuki's words. Life was short. Opportunities came and went. In 3 years of survival mode, she'd forgotten how to want things for herself. But she wanted Tokishi. Wanted more time with him. Wanted to know where this connection could lead. The question was whether she was brave enough to find out. The business deal concluded successfully on Monday, a week after Imoni started translating. The contracts were signed, hands were shaken, and Jennifer Coleman told Tokishi that Imoni had been instrumental in helping them understand cultural nuances that made the negotiation smoother. "She's a natural," Jennifer said. "If she ever wants a job in international relations, tell her to call me." After the final meeting, Tokishi suggested they celebrate. "There's a place I want to show you. No business talk, just time together. Is that okay?" They drove to Piedmont Park, where the late afternoon sun painted everything gold. Tokishi had arranged for a simple picnic, sushi from the restaurant where they'd had their first dinner, green tea, and matcha cookies. They sat on a blanket under a large oak tree, watching people jog past and dogs chase frisbees. "I leave in 3 days," Tokishi said quietly. "Back to Tokyo." The words hit Imoni like cold water. She'd known this was temporary, but having an end date made it real. "I knew you couldn't stay forever. I don't want to go." He turned to look at her. "Imoni-san, this week with you has been. I didn't expect this. Any of it. Neither did I. In Tokyo, my life is very structured. Work, meetings, more work. I have colleagues, not friends. My penthouse is beautiful and empty. I eat dinner alone most nights, reading reports." He paused. "With you, I remember what it's like to connect with someone. To laugh. To talk about things that matter. Your sister said you were different around me. I am. Better. Lighter. You make me want to be more than just a CEO. You make me remember the parts of myself I buried when my father died." Imoni felt her heart racing. "Tokishi-san. Let me finish. Please." He took a breath. "After my father died, I threw myself into work. Proving I could run the company, that I deserved the position. I stopped doing things I loved. Stopped seeing friends. Dating felt like a waste of time. I told myself I was being responsible, but really, I was hiding. Hiding from what? Loneliness. Grief. Fear that I wasn't enough, that I'd fail him." He looked at his hands. "And then I came to Atlanta and had a medical emergency, and a beautiful woman spoke Japanese to me in a hotel lobby, and everything changed. I'm not that special," Imoni said softly. "I just did what anyone would do. No. Most people would have called 911 and let professionals handle it. You stayed with me. You figured out what I needed and got it done. You made me feel seen, cared for, understood." He met her eyes. "And then I got to know you. Your strength, your dedication to family, your dreams you put aside. Your kindness. The way you light up when you're translating, completely in your element. I've watched you grow more confident this week, watched you become yourself again. It's been beautiful." Imoni felt tears prick her eyes. "I've felt more alive this week than I have in 3 years. Being with you, using my Japanese, feeling useful in a different way, it reminded me of who I wanted to be. So don't stop being her. Come to Tokyo." The words hung in the air between them. Imoni stared at him, sure she'd misheard. "What? Come to Tokyo. Work for my company. We need someone in international relations, someone who understands American business culture and speaks Japanese. The pay is excellent. We'd provide housing, moving expenses, everything. You'd be perfect for the role. Tokishi-san, I can't just leave. My mother, Richard. I've thought about that. Your mother's medication would be covered by the company's health plan for employees' families. We'd set up stipends for Richard's care and education. Your brother Andre could visit more easily if you're in one place instead of working 3 shifts. And Patricia, if she wanted, could come live with you in Tokyo. Or visit whenever she wants, on the company." He'd thought of everything. Every objection, every worry, every practical concern. "Why? Why would you do all this?" "Because you're talented. Because you deserve opportunities. Because He paused, seeming to gather courage. Because I'm in love with you, and the thought of going back to Tokyo without you makes that empty penthouse feel unbearable. If someone offered you a chance at your dream life, would you take it? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Imoni couldn't breathe. You love me. I do. I know it's fast. I know we've only known each other 10 days. But sometimes you just know. My father always said when you meet the right person, your heart recognizes them before your brain catches up. I thought he was being sentimental. Now I understand. Imoni felt tears spill over. I love you too. I've been trying not to because it seemed ridiculous, falling for someone I just met. But I can't help it. You're kind and thoughtful and you see me, really see me. Not just as someone who helps people but as me, Imoni, with dreams and hopes. You make me believe in myself again. Tokishi reached out, gently wiping away her tears with his thumb. Then come with me. Take this chance. Let yourself have the life you dreamed about. What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough for corporate work? You won't fail. You're brilliant. But even if you struggled, I'd be there to support you. We'd figure it out together. What if my family needs me? They want you to be happy. Your mother told me to help you dream again. This is how I can do that. What if this feeling fades? What if in 3 months you realize I'm just some hotel receptionist you felt sorry for? Tokishi took her hands, holding them gently. You are not just anything. You're Imoni Hayes, the woman who saved my life without hesitation. Who put herself through college while caring for a dying father. Who learned Japanese because she fell in love with another culture. Who sacrificed her dreams so her baby brother could have stability. You're remarkable, and that won't change in 3 months or 3 years. Imoni looked into his eyes and saw only sincerity, warmth, and yes, love. Real love, the kind her parents had shared before cancer took her father. The kind she'd thought she'd never find because she was too busy surviving to look for it. I need to talk to my family, she said. This affects them too. Of course. Take whatever time you need. I don't leave for 3 days. Just, please consider it. Please. They sat in the park until the sun set, talking about what life in Tokyo might look like. The apartment Tokishi would help her find. The language classes for Patricia if she wanted to visit. The schools for Richard if he decided to join her for a summer. The work she'd do, the team she'd join, the projects that needed someone with her exact skill set. When they finally stood to leave, Tokishi pulled her into a hug. It was the first time he'd held her, and it felt like coming home. She breathed in his scent, felt his heartbeat steady against her ear, and thought about how this stranger had become the most important person in her world in just 10 days. Whatever you decide, he murmured into her hair, I'm grateful I met you. You changed my life. You changed mine too, she whispered back. That night, Imoni sat at the kitchen table with her mother and Richard, explaining everything. The job offer. Tokyo. The benefits and stipends. Her feelings for Tokishi. Their conversation in the park. Patricia listened quietly, her hands wrapped around a mug of tea. When Imoni finished, her mother was silent for a long moment. Baby, do you love him? Really love him? Yes, Mama. I do. And this job, is it something you want? Not just because of him, but for yourself? It's everything I dreamed about. Using my Japanese, doing meaningful work, living abroad. It's the life I wanted before everything fell apart. Then you should go. But Mama, what about you? What about Richard? Patricia reached across the table and took her daughter's hand. Imoni, you've been taking care of us for 3 years. You put your life on hold for us. That was beautiful and loving and I'll be grateful forever. But baby, it's time for you to live again. Richard and I will be fine. I'll be fine, Richard agreed. Honestly, I've felt guilty for 3 years knowing you stayed for me. Go to Tokyo. Live the dream. Send me photos of cool stuff. But your medication, the bills, will be covered by this man's company health plan, according to what you just said. Better coverage than we have now. Baby, this is an answer to prayer. For you and for us. What if I fail? What if I can't handle it? Then you come home. But you won't fail. You're the strongest person I know. Patricia squeezed her hand. Your father would want this for you. He always said you were meant for big things. Let yourself have them. Imani cried then, really cried, all the stress and fear and hope pouring out. Her mother held her, and Richard joined them, and they sat together at their worn kitchen table making plans for a future that seemed impossibly bright. That night, Imani texted Tokishi, I talked to my family. The answer is yes. I'm coming to Tokyo. His response came seconds later, you just made me happier than I've been in 10 years. Thank you for taking this chance. I promise I'll make sure you never regret it. She fell asleep that night imagining cherry blossoms, crowded trains, her apartment overlooking the city. A new life. A second chance at the dreams she thought were dead. And Tokishi, there through all of it, believing in her when she'd forgotten how to believe in herself. Tomorrow, they'd start planning. But tonight, she let herself simply be happy, simply hope, simply dream. It felt like learning to breathe again after years of holding her breath. The next morning, Gerald Thompson called Imani into his office. She'd expected this conversation but not how quickly it would happen. She'd barely submitted her 2-week notice before he summoned her. You're quitting, Gerald said flatly, his expression sour. After 3 years, you're just leaving. Yes, sir. I've been offered a position in international relations in Tokyo. It's a career opportunity one can't pass up. Tokyo. With that Japanese man you've been spending time with. There was something ugly in his tone. Imani straightened her spine. With Nakamura Technologies, yes. Mr. Nakamura recognized my skills and offered me a position suited to my education. Your education? You're a college dropout working the night desk. I left college 6 months before graduation to care for my dying father. I was studying international relations with a focus on Japanese business culture. This position is exactly what I trained for. Gerald leaned back in his chair. And when this relationship goes south? When you're stranded in a foreign country with no job and no way home? Don't come crying to me for your position back. I won't need to. This is a legitimate career opportunity with a contract, benefits, and legal protections. And my personal relationship with Mr. Nakamura is none of your business. I'm just saying, girls like you need to be careful. Rich foreign men make promises they don't keep. The casual racism and sexism in his words made Imani's hands clench. I appreciate your concern, but my decision is final. I'll work my 2 weeks as required. Actually, that won't be necessary. If you're leaving anyway, leave now. I'll have someone from payroll bring your final check. Sir, I'm legally entitled to work my notice period. And I'm legally allowed to accept your resignation effective immediately. Consider yourself done. 20 minutes later, Imani walked out of the hotel for the last time, her final paycheck in hand and her personal items in a box. She felt shocked, angry, and strangely liberated all at once. She called Tokishi, who was in a meeting but stepped out immediately when he saw her call. Imani-san, what's wrong? She explained what happened. His silence on the other end was somehow more ominous than anger would have been. I'm coming to get you. Where are you? Still in the parking garage, but Tokishi, it's fine. I was leaving anyway. It's not fine. Wait there. He arrived 15 minutes later, and the expression on his face made Imani grateful Gerald wasn't there to see it. Show me to his office. Tokishi, it's okay. Please. His voice was quiet but firm. Let me handle this. They went back inside together. Gerald looked up from his computer, his expression shifting from dismissive to wary when he saw Tokishi. Mr. Nakamura, I didn't expect. You terminated Ms. Hayes' employment. Effective immediately, you said. She was leaving anyway. I simply accepted her resignation early. Did you provide her with the pay for her 2-week notice period, as required by company policy and Georgia labor law? Gerald's face reddened. That's only required if I terminate her. She resigned. She provided 2 weeks' notice. You refused to allow her to work those weeks. That's constructive termination. You owe her 2 weeks' pay. Tokishi placed a business card on Gerald's desk. That's my lawyer's information. I trust you'll have the correct amount sent to Ms. Hayes within 48 hours. Otherwise, she'll be filing a complaint with the Department of Labor, and I'll be contacting the hotel's corporate office about your management practices. You can't threaten me. I'm not threatening. I'm explaining consequences. You treated a valuable employee with disrespect and violated her rights. That has consequences. Tokishi's voice never rose, but his words carried weight. I'll be checking to ensure she receives what she's owed. If she doesn't, my legal team will be very thorough in their investigation of your employment practices. They left Gerald sputtering behind them. In the elevator, Imoni started laughing. Did you see his face? I wanted to say more. Much more. But that would have been unprofessional. You were perfect. Thank you for standing up for me. Always. Anyone who disrespects you will answer to me. 2 days later, a check arrived via courier. 2 weeks' pay plus accrued vacation time Imoni didn't even know she'd accumulated. The total was enough to cover her mother's medication for the next 4 months. Meanwhile, preparations for Tokyo began in earnest. Yuki, who'd extended her stay, threw herself into helping Imoni prepare. They shopped for appropriate business clothes, Yuki insisting on quality pieces that would last. You're representing my brother's company, Yuki said, holding up a beautiful silk blouse. But more importantly, you're representing yourself. You should look as capable as you are. They got Imoni's passport renewed, arranged for international phone service, and started the visa application process. Tokishi handled most of the paperwork, his assistant in Tokyo coordinating with immigration attorneys. Patricia watched it all with a mixture of pride and sadness. My baby, going to live in Japan. I never imagined this. You can visit, Mama, whenever you want. Tokishi's arranged for. I know, baby. He's been very generous. Very kind. Patricia paused. He loves you. Really loves you. I see it in how he looks at you, how he anticipates your needs before you voice them. I love him too. Is that crazy? It's only been 2 weeks. Your father proposed to me after 3 weeks. Sometimes you just know. The night before Tokishi had to return to Tokyo, he took Imoni to the same park where they'd had their picnic. Cherry blossom petals from decorative trees drifted on the breeze, reminding her of what awaited in Tokyo. I'll be back for you in 1 month, Tokishi said. That's how long it takes to process your work visa and arrange everything properly. It will feel like forever. We can video call. Text. It won't be so bad. I'm going to miss you every day. He took her hands. Imoni-san, I know we've moved quickly. I know conventional wisdom says to take things slow. But I've never been more certain of anything in my life than I am about you. About us. Neither have I. It feels right. We feel right. When you come to Tokyo, I don't want there to be any uncertainty about what we are to each other. I don't want you to wonder if this is just a professional arrangement. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. Imoni's breath caught. This belonged to my grandmother, Tokishi said, opening the box to reveal a delicate ring with a single perfect pearl surrounded by tiny diamonds. She was the kindest person I ever knew. She taught me that love isn't about grand gestures but about daily choices to care for someone, to support them, to believe in them. That's what I want to give you. Every day, for the rest of our lives. Tokishi. Marry me. Not right away, if you're not ready. But say yes to a future together. Say yes to building a life where we both get to be ourselves, to pursue our dreams, to support each other. Say yes to me, Imoni Hayes, and make me the happiest man in Tokyo. She didn't have to think about it. Yes. Of course yes. He slipped the ring on her finger, and it fit perfectly. Then he kissed her for the first time, gentle and sweet under the evening sky, and Imoni felt her entire world shift and settle into place all at once. When they finally pulled apart, both were crying and laughing. I can't believe this is happening, she said. 2 weeks ago, I was just trying to survive each day. Now I'm engaged to a man I love, moving to Tokyo, starting the career I always wanted. You deserve all of it. Every bit of happiness. They sat in the park until the stars came out, making plans. They'd marry in Tokyo, with both families present. Small ceremony, traditional Japanese elements mixed with American traditions. Cherry blossom season, if possible. Your mother and Richard will stay with me while they're visiting, Tokishi said. No hotels. They're family now. You've thought of everything. I've had time to plan while you were working shifts. I wanted everything perfect when I asked you. That night, Imoni showed her family the ring. Patricia cried. Richard whooped and said he was going to Tokyo for the wedding even if he had to swim. Andre called from base, and when she told him, he actually choked up. Dad would be so proud of you, Manny, he said. You gave up so much for us. I'm glad you're finally getting everything you deserve. The next morning, at the airport, saying goodbye to Tokishi was harder than Imoni expected. She'd only known him 2 weeks, but it felt like cutting off a piece of herself. 1 month, he reminded her, holding her close. Then you're with me for good. 1 month, she agreed. She watched his plane take off, the ring heavy and wonderful on her finger, and let herself cry. Happy tears, sad tears, hopeful tears all mixed together. Then she went home to start preparing for the biggest adventure of her life. Her dreams hadn't died after all. They'd just been waiting for the right moment, the right person, the right opportunity to spring back to life. And now, finally, she was ready to live them. The month after Tokishi left passed in a blur of preparation and anticipation. Daily video calls kept them connected despite the time difference. He'd show her his office, introduce her to colleagues who waved enthusiastically on camera. She'd show him her progress in packing, learning basic business Japanese phrases, researching Tokyo neighborhoods. I found the perfect apartment for you, he said during one call. 10 minutes from the office, near a great international school if Richard ever visits for a semester. 2 bedrooms, modern kitchen, beautiful view. I can send photos. How much is rent? Covered by the company as part of your relocation package. Standard practice. Tokishi. Not favoritism. We provide housing assistance for all international hires. You're not special because I love you. You're special because you're qualified and needed. He grinned. The love is just a bonus. She spent her days working temporary jobs to save money and help her mother until the Tokyo salary started. Word spread quickly about her engagement and upcoming move. The reactions varied. Some people at church were genuinely happy for her. Others whispered about her moving too fast, wondered if this was real or if she was being naive. Ms. Johnson from the pharmacy cornered Patricia after service. Are you sure about this? Letting your daughter move across the world for a man she just met? I'm sure she's following her dreams, Patricia responded firmly. And I'm sure the man she's marrying treats her like she's precious. That's all a mother can ask. Richard dealt with his own version. His friends at school were either impressed or skeptical. Your sister's marrying a billionaire? That's like a movie, one friend said. Is he old? Rich foreign dudes who marry young American girls are usually creepy, another added. He's 36, and he's not creepy. He's actually really cool. He helped me understand coding concepts my teacher couldn't explain. Richard was getting tired of defending Tokishi's character. The worst moment came when Imoni went to the community college to get her transcripts sent to Tokyo. She'd decided to finish her degree online through an international program. The admissions counselor, Mrs. Patterson, looked at her paperwork with barely concealed judgment. You're moving to Tokyo to work for your fiancé's company. I'm moving to Tokyo for a career position I'm qualified for. My fiancé happens to be the CEO. Ms. Hayes, I've seen this before. Young women who think foreign relationships are exotic and different. Then they're stuck in a country where they don't speak the language, financially dependent, isolated. I speak Japanese fluently. I studied at Osaka University. I've wanted to live in Japan since I was 19. This is my dream career, not a whim. Still, moving so fast. I appreciate your concern, but my decision is made. May I have my transcripts, please? What would you do if people doubted your biggest opportunity? Comment below. Imoni left feeling frustrated and hurt. She called Tokishi, needing to hear his voice. People keep acting like I'm making a mistake, she said. Like I'm naive or desperate or being taken advantage of. Are you having doubts? His voice was careful, controlled. No. Never. But I hate that people assume I can't make good decisions for myself. You're disrupting their expectations. You were the responsible one, the stable one. Now you're choosing something that looks risky to them. They're projecting their own fears. He paused. But Imoni-san, if you ever do have doubts, tell me. Don't stay silent to protect my feelings. I promise. But I don't have doubts. I'm just tired of defending my choices. Then stop defending. Stop explaining. Just smile and say thank you for the concern, and move forward. Their opinions don't have to affect your decisions. It was good advice. She started implementing it immediately. When people expressed skepticism, she simply thanked them for caring and changed the subject. She stopped trying to convince anyone this was right. She knew it was right. That was enough. Meanwhile, Yuki proved invaluable. She'd stayed in Atlanta for 2 weeks after Tokishi left, helping Imoni prepare practically and emotionally. People will always have opinions, Yuki said over coffee one afternoon. When I started my fashion label, everyone said I was wasting my family's money, that I should marry someone father approved. I ignored them. Now I'm successful on my own terms. You'll do the same. Did you ever regret not listening to them? Only once. When my marriage fell apart, some people said they told me so. That hurt. But you know what? I still don't regret choosing for myself. Even the mistakes were mine. She squeezed Imoni's hand. You're not making a mistake anyway. My brother is happier than I've ever seen him. You're good for each other. 2 weeks before Imoni's departure, the work visa came through. Everything was official now. Real. Happening. Patricia threw a small going-away party, inviting church friends, neighbors, and family. People brought food, shared memories, wished Imoni well. Even some who'd been skeptical offered genuine support now that it was actually happening. I'm proud of you, baby, Patricia said during a quiet moment. Scared, but proud. I'll call every week. More if you need me. I know. And I'll visit. I've always wanted to see Japan. Patricia smiled through tears. Your daddy and I talked about it once. He wanted to take me to see where you studied. I wish he could see you now. See how brave you've become. I learned it from you. You've been brave every day since he died. We've been brave together. Now it's your turn to be brave for yourself. Andre managed to get leave and flew in 2 days before her departure. Seeing her brother in his uniform, tall and strong and proud, made everything feel even more real. Look at you, he said, pulling her into a tight hug. My little sister, international businesswoman. Look at you. Staff Sergeant Hayes, all important. They spent the evening swapping stories. Andre talked about his life on base, the places he'd been deployed, his plans to eventually leave the military and use his GI Bill for college. Imoni told him everything about Tokishi, about Tokyo, about the job waiting for her. He treats you right? Andre asked, protective older brother mode activated. He treats me like I'm the most important person in his world. Good. Because if he doesn't, he'll answer to me. I don't care how many billions he has. The night before her flight, Imoni couldn't sleep. She walked through the apartment, touching familiar walls, looking at old photos. This had been home for 3 years. Before that, she'd lived in a dorm, before that the house her father died in. She was leaving behind everything familiar. But she was also moving toward everything she dreamed about. At midnight, her phone rang. Tokishi. I can't sleep, she said. Neither can I. 12 more hours and you'll be on a plane. 18 hours after that, you'll be here. I'm scared. Me too. What if my apartment isn't good enough? What if Tokyo disappoints you? What if we're both overthinking this? He laughed. Probably. Imoni-san, whatever happens, we'll figure it out together. That's what matters. They stayed on the phone until she finally felt calm enough to sleep. When she woke, her mother and Richard were already up, making her favorite breakfast one last time. At the airport, saying goodbye was as hard as she'd feared. Patricia held her for a long time, crying silently. Richard tried to be tough but ended up crying too. Andre Bear hugged her and whispered, "Be happy, Manny. You've earned it." Going through security, Imani looked back one more time. Her family waved, smiling through tears. She waved back, then turned toward her gate. Toward her future. Toward Tokyo. Toward Tokishi and the life they'd build together. The life she'd chosen for herself, brave and terrified and hopeful all at once. The flight to Tokyo felt eternal and too short all at once. Imani couldn't sleep despite the comfortable business class seat Tokishi had insisted on booking. She watched movies, tried to read, mostly stared out the window at clouds and ocean. When the pilot announced their descent into Narita Airport, her heart started racing. This was it. This was real. She'd studied Japanese for years, lived in Osaka for a semester, but she'd always known she was temporary. A visitor. Now she was moving here. Building a life here. It felt completely different. Going through customs and immigration took longer than expected. Her work visa was scrutinized, questions asked about her employment and housing. Finally cleared, she walked into the arrivals area, scanning the crowd. And there he was. Tokishi stood near the front, wearing jeans and a casual shirt, looking more relaxed than she'd ever seen him. The moment their eyes met, his entire face lit up. He pushed through the crowd, not caring about the proper Japanese restraint he usually maintained, and pulled her into his arms. "You're here," he said in English, then Japanese, then English again. "You're actually here." "I'm here," she agreed, breathing in his familiar scent, feeling the last of her anxiety melt away. This was right. This was home. Not the country, not the city. Him. They held each other in the middle of the busy airport while people streamed around them, and Imani felt certainty settle into her bones. The drive into Tokyo was overwhelming in the best way. The organized chaos of traffic, the density of buildings, the mix of ultramodern and traditional architecture. Everything was bright, clean, buzzing with energy. "There's Shibuya Crossing," Tokishi pointed out. "We'll go there soon. You need to experience it properly. And there, Tokyo Tower. Not as famous as Skytree now, but I've always loved it." And he was nervous, she realized. Babbling slightly, wanting her to love his city. She put her hand over his. "Tokishi. Breathe. I already love it. You haven't even seen your apartment yet. I don't need to. I love it because you're here." His smile could have lit up the entire city. The apartment was perfect. Minimalist and modern, with large windows overlooking a neighborhood that managed to feel both urban and intimate. The furniture was simple but quality. The kitchen was small but well equipped. Her bedroom had a comfortable bed and empty closet space waiting for her clothes. "The second bedroom is for when your family visits," Tokishi said. "Or if you want a home office. Whatever you need. Where do you live?" 10 minutes away. Walking distance. "I wanted you to have your own space, not feel like you had to be with me constantly just because we're engaged." "That's very thoughtful. Also, I plan to be with you constantly anyway." He laughed. "I was hoping you'd say that. Still, having your own place is important. Independence. Privacy when you need it." They spent the afternoon unpacking her suitcases, making the space feel like hers. Tokishi had stocked the refrigerator with basics and a few American comfort foods, peanut butter, cheddar cheese, even Pop-Tarts. "I asked Yuki what American food I should get. She said these were essential. Your sister is a wise woman." That evening, he took her to a small neighborhood restaurant, introducing her to the owners who greeted him warmly. "I eat here often," he explained. "The owners, the Tanaka family, they're wonderful. Real home cooking." Mrs. Tanaka fussed over Imani, speaking rapid Japanese that Imani mostly followed. She caught words like pretty, kind face, and Tokishi-san finally found someone. "She's very approving," Tokishi whispered. "She's been trying to set me up with her niece for 2 years. I think she's relieved I found someone on my own." The food was incredible. Simple, home-style Japanese dishes that reminded Imani of her host family in Osaka. The flavors were comforting and exciting all at once. Walking home through quiet streets, Tokishi took her hand. "Tomorrow, we'll go to the office. Meet your team. Start getting you settled professionally. But tonight, I just want you to relax. Adjust. Know that you're safe here. I already feel safe. With you, I always feel safe. The next morning, jet lag hit hard. Imoni woke at 3 a.m. wide awake, her body confused about time zones. She texted Tokishi, and within minutes, he was knocking on her door with hot green tea and rice crackers. Jet lag is miserable, he said. I thought you might be up. Want company or should I go? Stay. Please. They sat on her couch watching the sun rise over Tokyo, talking quietly about everything and nothing. About the day ahead, the team she'd meet, the projects waiting. About Richard's upcoming school break when he'd visit. About Patricia's plans to come for the wedding. When should we get married? Imoni asked. We never actually decided. When do you want to? Soon. I don't want a long engagement. I want to be your wife, not your fiancé. Cherry blossom season. 3 months from now. If that's okay? That's perfect. At the Nakamura Technologies office, Imoni felt a different kind of nervousness. This was professional. She needed to prove she deserved this job, that she wasn't just the CEO's fiancé getting special treatment. The international relations team consisted of 6 people, all welcoming and professional. Her boss, Tanaka Kenji, spoke excellent English and immediately put her at ease. Tokishi says you have good instincts for cross-cultural communication, he said. We need that. We're expanding our American partnerships, and having someone who understands both business cultures is valuable. I'll do my best, Imoni said. I'm sure you will. Now, let's start with. The day flew by. Meetings, introductions, reviewing current projects. Her role would involve translating negotiations, advising on cultural considerations, and helping smooth communications between Tokyo and American offices. It was exactly what she'd studied for, what she'd dreamed of doing. At lunch, several team members took her to a nearby restaurant, asking about her background, her studies, her impressions of Tokyo. She noticed they never mentioned her relationship with Tokishi. They treated her as a colleague, not as the boss's fiancé. It was refreshing. Tokishi told us to treat you like any other team member, one colleague, Yumi, explained later. He said you'd earned this position on your own merit and should be respected as such. He said that? Yes. He was very clear. You're here because you're qualified, not because of personal connections. That evening, exhausted but exhilarated, Imoni collapsed on Tokishi's couch. He'd made dinner, simple pasta with Japanese touches, and they ate while she told him about her day. Everyone was professional and kind. I felt respected, not like some charity case. Because you're not. You're talented. They see that. He paused. I stayed away from your floor today on purpose. I wanted you to establish yourself without me hovering. But it was hard. I wanted to check on you every hour. I'm glad you didn't. I needed to do this myself. I know. That's why I didn't. But tomorrow, can I take you to lunch? Just the 2 of us? I'd love that. The weeks settled into a rhythm. Work during the day, where Imoni threw herself into projects and exceeded everyone's expectations. Evenings with Tokishi, exploring the city, trying new restaurants, simply being together. Weekends visiting temples, shopping districts, slowly making Tokyo feel like home. Patricia and Richard visited during Richard's spring break. Watching her family in Tokyo, seeing Richard's excitement and her mother's joy, made everything feel complete. They stayed in Tokishi's guest rooms, and he treated them like precious guests, showing them the city with pride. You're happy here, Patricia observed one evening. Really happy. I can see it in your eyes. I am, Mama. I really am. One evening, 2 months after her arrival, Tokishi took her to a traditional garden. Cherry trees were beginning to bud, promising the spectacular bloom season ahead. They walked through quiet paths until they reached a small bridge over a koi pond. 2 months ago, you arrived in Tokyo, he said. And my life became complete. Imoni-san, you've exceeded every expectation at work. The team loves you. Projects you've worked on are succeeding beyond projections. You've made yourself invaluable. I love the work. I love the team. I love being here. And us. How do you feel about us? She turned to face him fully. I've never been more certain about anything. You're my best friend, my partner, the person I want to share everything with. Marrying you will be the easiest decision I've ever made. Good. Because we're getting married in 4 weeks. Cherry blossom season. Your family arrives in 3 weeks. My family is ready. Yuki is planning everything with military precision. I hope that's okay that I let her take over. That's perfect. I trust her completely. He kissed her then, gentle and sweet, with cherry blossoms beginning to bloom around them and the city lights glittering in the distance. I love you, Imani Hayes. Thank you for taking this chance. Thank you for believing in us. I love you too. Thank you for seeing me. For believing in me when I'd stopped believing in myself. They stood on the bridge as evening deepened into night, two people who'd found each other in the most unlikely way, building a life neither had expected but both had needed. And in 4 weeks, they'd make it official. Make it permanent. Make it forever. The cherry blossoms bloomed exactly on schedule, transforming Tokyo into something magical. Pink petals drifted through the air like snow, covering sidewalks and floating in ponds. It was the perfect backdrop for a wedding. The ceremony would be at a traditional shrine, small and intimate. Just family and close friends. Imani wore a white wedding kimono called shiramuku, the elaborate traditional dress making her feel like she'd stepped into a dream. A professional had helped her dress, explaining each layer's significance. You look beautiful, Patricia said, tears streaming down her face. Your father would be so proud. I wish he was here. He is, baby. In all the ways that matter. Richard, dressed in a formal suit, kept taking photos. Wait until my friends see these. They're going to lose their minds. Andre, in his dress uniform, stood guard like he was protecting a military operation. You ready for this, Manny? More than ready. Yuki burst in, already crying despite the ceremony not starting yet. You're gorgeous. My brother is going to forget how to speak when he sees you. The walk to the shrine was short but felt eternal. Patricia on one side, Andre on the other, Richard following behind. Cherry blossom petals fell around them like blessings. At the shrine entrance, Tokushi waited in traditional formal wear, black kimono with his family crest. When their eyes met, he smiled so widely that several guests laughed. Imani felt her own face break into a matching smile. This was it. This was them. Forever starting right now. The ceremony was beautiful and moving, conducted in both Japanese and English. They exchanged vows they'd written themselves, promising partnership, support, love through whatever came. Tokushi's hands shook slightly as he slid the wedding band onto her finger, and Imani's voice caught when she said her vows. I promise to build a life with you where we both thrive, where we support each other's dreams, where we face challenges together. I promise to love you not just in the easy moments but especially in the hard ones. You saved me by helping me save myself, and I'll spend the rest of my life being grateful for that. When the priest pronounced them married, Tokushi kissed her thoroughly despite the traditional Japanese reserve expected at such ceremonies. The guests erupted in applause and laughter. The reception was held at an elegant hotel with views of the city. The blend of Japanese and American traditions worked perfectly. Speeches made everyone cry and laugh. Patricia welcomed Tokushi into their family with grace and warmth. Yuki told embarrassing stories about her brother's teenage years. He once tried to impress a girl by building a robot that would bring her flowers, Yuki said. The robot caught fire. The flowers died. The girl ran away. But look at him now. He finally figured out how to win someone's heart. Richard's speech was surprisingly touching. My sister gave up her dreams to take care of our family when Dad died. She worked 3 jobs, made sure I had everything I needed, never complained. I always felt guilty about that. But now she's living those dreams, and I'm happy for her. Also, Tokushi promised to buy me a gaming computer, so I officially approve of this marriage. Everyone laughed, and Tokushi called out, already ordered. Arrives next week. When it was Imani's turn to speak, she looked around the room at the impossible mix of people gathered. Her family from Atlanta, Tokishi's family and colleagues from Tokyo, new friends she'd made in the past few months. All here because of one moment in a hotel lobby when she decided to help a stranger in need. 3 months ago, I was working the night shift at a hotel, trying to survive day by day. I'd given up on my dreams because life required it. Then a man stumbled into my lobby, scared and desperate, speaking a language I thought I'd never use professionally. I helped him because it was the right thing to do, not expecting anything in return. And he changed my life. She looked at Tokishi. You saw potential in me I'd forgotten I had. You offered me opportunities one thought were dead. You loved me when I'd forgotten how to love myself. Thank you for that. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for taking a chance on a college dropout working the night shift who happened to speak Japanese. Thank you for saving my life, Tokishi replied. In more ways than one. As the reception wound down, Imoni stood by the window looking out at Tokyo's glittering skyline. Tokishi joined her, wrapping his arms around her waist. Happy, he asked. Beyond measure. You. I've never been happier in my life. They stayed there together as the party continued behind them, watching their city, planning their future. 6 months later, Imoni sat in her office at Nakamura Technologies, reviewing a proposal for a major partnership with a Silicon Valley tech company. Her team had worked on this for weeks, and the presentation was tomorrow. She felt confident, prepared, excited. Her phone buzzed. Patricia, on video chat. Hey mama, how are you? Wonderful, baby. Just wanted to show you something. Patricia turned the camera to show her new apartment. She'd moved to a better place with her medical assistant salary, which had increased now that she'd completed her certification. 2 bedrooms, good kitchen, safe neighborhood. Richard loves it. It's beautiful. I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of you. I saw the article about your company's expansion in the States. They mentioned you by name as key to the successful cultural bridge building. It's been a team effort. Always so humble. Just like your father. Speaking of which, I visited his grave yesterday. Told him all about your success, about Tokishi, about how happy you are. I think he knows. I think he's proud. After hanging up, Imoni allowed herself a moment to feel grateful. Her mother was thriving. Richard had started an online gaming channel that was actually earning money, and he'd been accepted to 3 colleges with partial scholarships. Andre had been promoted to Master Sergeant. Her own career had exceeded every expectation. In 6 months, she'd become essential to the international relations team. Her insights had helped secure 3 major partnerships, and just last week, she'd been asked to head up a new division focused on cultural consulting. Most importantly, her marriage was strong and getting stronger. She and Tokishi had learned each other's rhythms, supported each other's stresses, celebrated each other's victories. They'd had their first real argument about his working too late and resolved it by actually talking instead of avoiding conflict. They'd spent a weekend in Kyoto, visiting the temples she'd missed during her Osaka semester. They'd started planning to buy a house, something with space for a family eventually. The door opened, and Tokishi poked his head in. Lunch. Always. They ate at their favorite neighborhood restaurant, the one where Mrs. Tanaka still fussed over them and packed extra food for Imoni to take home. Afterward, they walked through a nearby park where cherry blossoms had bloomed and fallen months ago, but other flowers had taken their place. I've been thinking, Tokishi said. Remember that program you mentioned? Helping other young people study abroad? The scholarship program? Yes, why? Let's start it. The Imoni Hayes Scholarship for Cultural Studies. We'll fund students who want to study in Japan but can't afford it. Give them what you almost had but had to give up. Tokishi, that would cost. Money we have. And it's important. Let's give other people the chances you deserved. Please. She stopped walking and looked at him, this man who continually found ways to support not just her but the values that mattered to her. You're sure? Completely. I've already had the legal team draw up preliminary plans. We could have the first scholarship available by next year. Fund 5 students annually to start. More as the program grows. I love you. Have I mentioned that recently? Not in the last hour. I was starting to worry. She kissed him there in the park, not caring who saw, and felt the last piece of her old life's grief finally release. She wasn't the girl surviving anymore. She was a woman thriving, building something meaningful, making a difference. That evening, she started writing emails to universities about the scholarship program. She thought about young people like she'd been, full of dreams and passion but facing obstacles that seemed insurmountable. Now she could help them. Now she could be for them what Tokishi had been for her. Later, lying in bed beside her husband, Imoni thought about the journey from that hotel lobby to here. How one moment of simple kindness had rippled out in ways she never could have predicted. How accepting help with gratitude instead of pride had opened doors she hadn't known existed. "What are you thinking about?" Tokishi asked sleepily. "How one decision can change everything. How I almost missed this because I was so focused on just surviving. But you didn't miss it. You were brave enough to take the chance. We were both brave. We were. And we'll keep being brave together." She curled closer to him, listening to his heartbeat, the same heart that had needed medication that night in Atlanta. The same heart that now beat steady and strong beside hers. Outside, Tokyo's lights glittered against the night sky. Inside, two people who'd found each other in the most unexpected way slept peacefully, their future bright and certain. Because sometimes, all it takes is one moment of courage, one person willing to help, and another willing to accept that help gracefully. Sometimes, that's enough to change everything. And for Imoni and Tokishi, it had changed everything into something more beautiful than either had dared to dream.